most important question is, why? Why is this family business hiring a non-family member, president, or CEO to run their company? The fact that they are hiring you in the first place signals a leadership gap within the family, at least at that moment. This can put you in a very complex situation. In my view, leading a family business as a non-family member executive is by far the most challenging assignment for a hired gun. It may require more EQ, people, and communication skills than business acumen, although all of these are needed in spades. Hi, I'm Phil Coerper, Managing Director of Ringling Business Solutions. In this episode of the CEO's Field Manual, we'll discuss being a hired gun in a family business structure. We'll delve into the whys in a minute, but a second key question is around who. Who are the family members involved in the business? Are their actual roles defined and embraced by each family member? I've had the honor of being hired by several family-owned businesses as the executive to run the company. There are some amazing advantages to this structure, but also some complex minefields to navigate. My middle name is Ringling, named after my great-grandfather of circus fame. Juggling can also be a key skill set for these assignments. In one example, the why was based on the son who had taken over for his father years earlier and wanted to do other things than run the company. In a second example, the father was not ready to turn the business over to the son and wanted to have someone run it, professionalize it, and help develop his son for the top role in the future. The point is, it's critical to understand why are you being hired, what roles of any family members there are who are in the business, and what level of authority they plan to give you. The family may want you to be more of an implementer than a key decision maker, or they may want you to have a higher level of control. Try to get as much clarity about this as you can and make sure you're good with the gaps between accountability and authority, should there be any. To the extent family members are active in the business or on the board, they will likely be looking to take proceeds. Now, dividends may be funding lifestyles here, and this can create tension between investing in the business and providing dividends to family members. Having skills to manage relationships with an added family dynamic as an outsider is fundamental here. You'll have two full-time jobs, one leading the business and one aligning the family stakeholders. Both are often more than full-time jobs. Let's give a few examples of the why and the who, and go deeper into some real-life cases. In one case, I was hired to supplement the Gen 2 son who had a very hands-off management style. Now, you met Brian in a prior episode on private equity ownership as a supportive but very hands-off owner. Brian was extremely smart, capable, and respected, both as a leader and highly respected as a person. He had an engineering degree, and smartly, Ray, his father, had insisted he work his way up from an entry-level position at the company before he got into management. Also, Ray insisted Brian work outside the family business for several years before he would be brought back for a leadership role. As a side comment, these are critical things for a patriarch or matriarch of a family business to do if their children desire to help lead their business. If a Gen 2 or Gen 3, for that matter, child is not willing to get a relevant degree, work up through the ranks, and maybe most importantly, be a manager at a different firm before gaining leadership roles in the family business, their chance of success is highly compromised. If you are a founder of a family business, don't compromise on these points, even if it's a much easier path. So back to this episode. The why in Brian's case was he had many other interests in life than running the family business. He also was a high EQ person, so he knew he would not be full-time dedicated as the business required. The why he would delegate leadership to a non-family member flowed from his situation and his perspectives. Further, Brian's brothers and sisters were passive board members. they had little interest in leading the company. Brian's situation, plus the other family member status, created a very positive situation for a non-family member like me to come in and help lead. Notice the why and who aligned here. This second example was much more complicated. Ted, the patriarch and founder of the business, had promoted Frank, his oldest son, to run the company several years earlier. To put it mildly, this had not worked out. The business was not getting the professional grade leadership Ted expected, and worse yet, the relationships between the working family members had deteriorated to a very unfortunate level. Ted did not see appointing another family member as viable, so he went outside and recruited a non-family member to lead the company. That turned out to be me. The why was clear in this case. Now, all involved were smart, good character people, but family dynamics with the added pressure of money and professional roles made this highly challenging. To make matters even more, interesting, Frank, the son who had been demoted, now worked for me. It was my responsibility to figure out his role moving forward. After I was hired, I told a friend about the job. He thought I was nuts to take this on. Tellingly, Frank was not involved in the interview process that was conducted by Ted and several other advisory board members. So the first time I met Frank was after I was already hired as the president of the firm. We met for lunch at a local restaurant. Frank was a natural salesman like Ted, his father. Most of what I had heard to that point was about the problems from his term as president. It would have been easy to be negatively biased, but I liked him and thought he sincerely cared about the success of the company. Over the first year or so, we had several hard bumps in the road trying to get aligned, but we navigated them, and in the end, I thought he landed in a very good spot. Even though at that point we were getting along pretty well, he came to realize working for me was not a great option for him. So we set him up in his own business to execute the plan he believed in when he was president. The challenges with interfamily relationship also started to improve, not through anything I did, but as good folks eventually aligning around common goals. Several other Gen 2 and Gen 3 family members were also employed at different management levels. The who, or roles and responsibilities of other family members, was going to be a work in progress. One key to winning here was clear understanding of my accountability and authority. This turned out to be one of Ted's strong suits, and it was a core driver to our success. You can imagine the minefields in this assignment if we had blurry lines on my authority levels. It would have been unmanageable. The other key to winning as a non-family member leader is respect. Being liked is a nice to have. Being respected is a must-have. Now let's move from the why and the who to the what. By this I mean, what does the family business represent for the family members? There is a professional career component here, an identity component, and certainly a money and wealth component for family members associated with their family business. Understanding these dynamics is core to your success. So let's review these in the Brian example. Now, Brian viewed his career as a success, and he was not dependent on being the top leader in the business to be satisfied with his career. Brian, though, valued being the owner of a business. This was a core part of his identity. Brian and his siblings were generally satisfied with the wealth already generated and shared with them. It was very rare for demands to be made on the family business that shifted our focus from business success to family member payouts. This obviously made my job much easier. Now let's explore the what in the case of Ted's business. There were large challenges with roles and careers of the family members that had to be sorted out over time. Further, Ted and all the family members were highly dependent on their identity as company owners. John, one of the family members, for example, participated in several business forums where he was recognized as a business leader in the community. Family member roles also created a fairness challenge that required roles of differing family members to be equitable with the others. Now, these were smart and good people, plus on the receiving end of the returns, so they wanted all of us to succeed. In both cases, understanding these dynamics and perceptions were critical to the success of a non-family member executive like me and the success of the firm. So if you're looking to join a family business as a non-family member leader, ask good questions around the why, the who, and the what topics. You'll have a much greater chance of success in your role. In this Hired Gun series, we've covered private equity, family office, and now family-owned business structures. It's an amazing honor to be hired to lead any of these businesses in any of these ownership types. Each one offers amazing opportunity and unique challenges for the hired executive. As the business leader, it's important to do you, but equally important is to understand and align with situational awareness, the perspectives of your owners, and the ownership structure presented. Thank you for joining this episode of the CEO's Field Manual. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Please subscribe, and we'll see you at a future video.